Welcome, Crypto Media friends, to an overtime show, kind of midday because we're grinding hard and we're working on post-production at nights and a day working hard on minting out the project. At Minty Fresh Vibe, if you want to find out the projects that I'm working on in the Web3 ecosystem, trying to merge these ideas of Web3 into Web2. And one of those key ideas is inclusivity. And I know it's a tall order, right? When you're talking about trying to bring this buzzword, this notion of other people's and other people's stories from areas that might not be pop culture or pop culture worthy of being on the big screen for 4,000 theaters in the United States and the world. And so wanted to talk today about a group that's trying to tackle that in a unique way. JumpCut/UpperCut, which is their sort of action arm, and talking about barriers of entry. Those two barriers of entry, there's two classic ones, price and tech, and so it's an interesting scenario where people talk about how do we onboard for the masses, and it's so weird that is an issue, I think, for some groups. I think they're really not seeing quite really what Web3 is if they're trying to get the masses, because what they see is, if I can get the masses, I get my work in front of the masses. But I feel like it really is the cart leading the horse, because in Web3 it is all about communities, and these sort of these 10,000K projects, sometimes 7,000, have really distilled to really only a few hundred holders who are in the Discord on a constant basis, and that the others are just kind of waiting for their bags to blow up and then sell them, and sort of it's become a very, very challenging system in which to provide something like inclusivity. But I think it is going to be important. It's here. But I think it's going to be important as a platform. And so as entrepreneurs and creators, I wanted to present, my talk later with UpperCut, head of operations, Tino, and talk a little bit about, free mints and ecosystems that can essentially make stars. And, we have several stars here on staff. And so let's bring in Gaston. Gaston, can you hear us out in the metaverse? Hello, bonjour. I am here again to provide you the information you seek. Hi, Gaston. It seemed, are you back at the train station? Oh, look at you. You're very observant. Oui, I'm here back at the train station. The accommodations I was at was not working out. My agent, I fired my agent. It did not work out because he was shit. And so here I am at the train station again, and it is my choice as an artist to live this way. I do not need royalties. I do not need these other things to exist. Well, that's the thing, is talking about how somebody like yourself gets access to platforms in which to tell their stories is the challenge, I think, of inclusivity. When they think about classic inclusivity, you think about somebody who's economically challenged and can't quite get into the system, as well as and get their voice heard, as well as technologically. And so clearly, money-wise, it's a challenge for you. Well, you are a genius. What can I say? You can tell I am very, very poor. Now, the idea of having these wallets full of the Ethereum virtual machine internet money is of no consequence to me, because I make the art, and once my art gets made, it will just be out in the world, and the world will appreciate me probably when I am dead. Well, I think that's kind of the point, is we need a system of working artists, and I think that every platform has to keep that in mind. And so the idea of keeping things sort of low cost or free, free mints, I think helps in that way. I mean, technologically, do you have any barriers technologically from your standpoint? Well, I am a metaverse being, so I am 100 times more technologically advanced than you. Thank you very much. But having these to get this wallet and that wallet and that, if it all goes into my MetaMask, which is essentially inside of my glasses here, it will all make me have the ability to join whatever I want. If it is if you make a Fremont, maybe some gas, gasoline in my indigestion. This is how I create my gas. I have the indigestion from eating the trash back here, and then I create the gas, and then I pay for my NFT. Wow, I didn't know that's how metaverse money making went. I'm surprised nobody's tried to farm you and get scholars for you. These ideas of free mints and in the ecosystem, as well as technologically having wallets and getting past that tech, and also in the 3D space we have. Thank you, Gaston. I just didn't want you to freak out and wait for me. Thank you for joining us again. Oh, you're welcome. Au revoir. And let me know if you need to be educated in how my Guturo system works again. Thank you. So like projects like some of our favorites here, Volts, has addressed that technological aspect to it, because in 3D especially, when working with somebody like Gaston, we need a file subset that allows us to utilize them with the apps. And so Gaston comes to us live from his iPhone, and so without that, the face tracking and all the sort of things that make him up don't quite work. And so it's up to these apps to deliver sort of these performative type elements, and without those, to get to the file types though used to be a long time. And I've covered other shows sort of going from GLB and you can play in FBX to get some elements of performance and movement, but you're not going to get performance like in the face without like a .avatar file, which is some of our characters, or a VRM file, which is another set of some of our characters on the show. And so it becomes very tech, right? It's very tech heavy. And if you don't, have the ability to go into Blender and, export and then into Unity and then re-export, it just takes time, to go through. You could YouTube it, and trust me, this is why I'm here. I'm here to try and educate via YouTube, as well as millions of other people, because we're all excited about, the things that we do. And so like, subscribe, hit the bell notification if you're into NFTs and metaverse, media, storytelling. That's what we're here for. And thank you for watching. Now, the idea that, you can get from the avatar and performing from your NFT is much more simple if projects do the work. Now, it's a lot of work, and I advocate for it all the time. And you'll see in this interview with Uppercut, Tino, I'm a huge advocate of trying to eliminate those barriers of entry from the technological standpoint of things, because when you're making a set of GLBs, 3D files that are very, it can only be opened in Blender, great for animators, great for, people who are sophisticated enough within that software. Even I, it's just like I learned in Maya, and it's just like I can get in there and I can tweak. Do I want to do and articulate an entire scene where to move an arm like this, to do something that Gaston does, takes a very, very, very long time in order to just even get the humanness of it right. But if I have great tracking, if I have an amazing app, if I have an iPhone that has this amazing face tracking, amazing tracking ability, I can get performance very, very quickly. And so as a storyteller, that's super, super exciting. That's something that Uppercut has I think I've sold them on to some degree, where they see and they understand, because they want to be an action-oriented movement NFT 3D project, that, movement is important to look human. And say they've done a lot of work in mocap, and I think they understand the value of that motion being applied to the characters to tell these stories. And so you have that, and you have that barrier of entry, and then you have the monetary barrier of entry. And that's why a lot of projects these days you see are going free mint. Now, they go free mint, and then they try and have a royalty that is significant enough to where the resale value will equal an amount that gives them some sort of revenue, right? So if you do the goblins route, which we covered very, very early on, congratulations to those of you who like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification to my show, because you would have gotten early in on Goblin Town and understood why it pumped, why, and again, I don't talk in market terms, but why it was popular and why it worked, especially for the time that it came out for. And that was a free mint. You could have gotten on that for free, or at that time very, very low cost in a sense, because as it's hitting the market, people don't know quite what it is. There's a whole level of market speculators that sit and wait for the free mints, and they flip them as soon as they come up. Okay, 0.2, 0.3, 0.02, 0.03 ETH. We're talking $20, $30, $40. They're just flipping. They want to buy as many as they can. They want to flip up to because then it looks like that there's market heat. Then it looks like it's trending. And then 0.6, and then that's like this massive crash. Like around there, 0.5, 0.6, and it's just like sometimes 0.4, and then it just dies down. And that's a whole ecosystem at the moment. Sadly, that's a way for people to profit by doing a free mint and then having a significant royalty taking part in that market action. Now, that is the sort of the dark art side of things, but the ideal behind it is to eliminate a barrier of entry. And so by giving out for free to artists, to musicians, to people who can leverage the platform, you hope for talent to come into that platform. And now it's up to the platforms to deliver for those artists. So as the entrepreneur, you have to begin to say, okay, well, how do I make a star? Because this is what this whole entire space is going to explode on. It's going to be a match, an absolute match in a powder keg, when there's a headline that says, I made $140,000 last year with my NFT, my 3D NFT. Holy crap. And what platform was that? What chain was that? That is going to be, the real ignition, I think, for interest in this space, because if a platform can provide for an artist to succeed, to not be like Gaston and live in the train station, it's going to be seen as a place, a place that people can go, artists can go and survive, in this space. I mean, it's bad enough in Web 1, Web 2, the real world, to survive as an artist. We know that there is a market for artists in Web 3, but it's just so precarious right now as to what works, what doesn't work. What's a scam and what's not a scam. And so to provide, again, what the best thing that projects can do is provide the security that it's not a scam, and that we are Bored Ape Yacht Club, and this is what we focus on. And they build their brand, they build their core brand, they expand with it by giving tools, give more tools, give lands, these sort of things that we take as, okay, that's probably market speculation stuff. Some people are going to flip on it, and, but I think the more that this space becomes sophisticated, the more they understand that they have to make money and they have to make stars. They have to make stars out of us creatives who come onto their platform, because that is, we're the banners, in a sense, of the things that we create. Now, there's always, as we say on this channel, an evil to that, because that's the Web 2 mentality of, oh, hey, create an Instagram profile for me that's going to get 300,000 people to look at it consistently, and I'm going to slip some ads in there, and you're not getting a piece of that. So it's like and I think that that's what these platforms are going to start to do now. They're going to start to try and emulate that of like, oh, hey, we have a star now. Great. That's going to bring other eyes. The next step is to then, make it equitable for people to participate. And for those who can participate, this is where the view to earn, the listen to earn models come into play. And so I'm not just talking about these because I'm working on them in space. And check out Twitter at MintyFresh5 for the ones that I am working on. But, that's sort of the next level. That's the ideal of Web3, where you can have participation as well as reimbursement in some degree. Like, you're getting paid for these things because it's of value. And Web3 has that ability to take that value and monetize it within ways that I think are a bit more clear, hopefully, on the blockchain, leveraging these tools that we have in Web3, ZK rollups. I'm working on soul binding and these sort of elements that help to protect A, the brand, B, the user, the person, leveraging the platform, with protections in Web3. So, a space is only as good as its protections. And so when you have protections technologically, when you have incorporated an ease of onboarding financially as well as technically, you start getting a sense of like, okay, now I can roll it out and open it up to somebody who's very talented, who I want on my platform, who might not care what's happening on the floor price of OpenSea. Those are the people that you want, right? And so sometimes that's not 10,000. Sometimes that's a few hundred. Sometimes that's 7,000. It's like the market will determine to some degree, but I think it also is up to us as creators and entrepreneurs to understand what we can create and what we can service and the size of that, because servicing 10,000 people and holders is really, really tough. Mind you, everyone's holding like, a few. And so that, comes down to about 3 to 5,000 or so. But still, even, at that rate, that's a lot of people in which to service in a sense. And so if you can break that down into something that's manageable for a small team, you might be able to create a petri dish of experimentation. And I think that's what's so exciting right now about the space and the experiments that people like UPPERCUT are doing. And so, they're doing a pay what you can model proposition, which is really fantastic, in terms of like, it was like a free mint, but then do we want to be a free mint? I think there's a stigma right now with free mints, as I was talking about, that market action that happens to projects where like, oh yeah, free mint, great, 10,000, you're going to sell out quick, but you're also going to be subjected to very, very harsh market realities and people who believe that you're in there for the market realities and pressure you. And it's a lot of pressure and none of it's creative, creatively fulfilling or emboldening in any way. And so, and then, those that are looking to get their 3D models directly into VRM and data avatar is super important in my perspective of, again, allowing creators like me to access them and immediately utilize the really, really powerful apps that we have available to us and are growing at a significant pace. 1 year ago to today, different. What's going to happen in the next year? I think we're going to have some really powerful tools at our disposal as creators to make things ASAP now. Like what I do, guys, I do this all live. Every one of those like little videos, I do this all live. I don't sit there. I don't animate. Because again, traditionally, it's funny when you look at these, it's just like traditionally speaking, like again, a year ago, trying to do these is really, really tough to do because you're animating a lot. These are apps that I'm using that I'm able to just interchange, and because forward-thinking NFTs like I'm a Degen with their voids and and others that are giving tools, meta travelers that are giving tools to their holders, I'm allowed to then make stuff, because I own the commercial rights to as well. And that's what's really fantastic about this space and why I advocate for looking at the space in this way of owning your IP, owning the rights, and being able to create with it. Because you can see, like my meta traveler, I do one joke about Jonah Hill, and in a day, it kind of blows up. And so all platforms have this vested interest, to create stars. They don't know it yet, but I think that the ones that have that in their mind are going to be the ones that are going to be super successful in this next wave. And I think that looking just very quickly at JumpCut, connecting storytellers and audiences, I think these guys are very sophisticated in their background in traditional media, and it's very apparent. Like that's why I jumped right into that project, because I could tell who they were working with. Like, there's some big names associated with it, but before then I could tell they were working with good writers. And I was like, okay, you're working with these good writers. Okay, you guys are is this a storytelling thing? And then it was just like, oh, it's a storytelling plus they're going to try and, build and allow storytelling, but foster storytelling. But also, again, and it's very, very advanced thinking here, allow, because usually that's two different projects, right? I think Azerbala probably is a comparison, because Azerbala has the funding though. Like Azerbala, raised a massive, massive amount of money as a storytelling IP. This is, something that came off of Jenkins, the Bored Ape, to where it was just like, okay, like he sat down with real Hollywood people and was like, well, how do I do this? Because I have a valet. Okay, kill the valet. He's from somewhere. He's from this place called Azerbala. We're going to build out this, this is what Hollywood does. They love backstories. They love origin stories because they're the most lucrative, to be honest. And so that's when they go to a catalog of comic books, they're like, oh, flip, flip, flip. Okay, origin story. We're going to do that one. And so, as they know, that's like the most profitable, if you will, sadly. And so they'll pick out the origin story. And so that's probably what happened to Jenkins. And then so, now you have storytelling, NFT, which has become part of, a larger meta, and because of 10K TF, which, by the way, congrats on that team. Holy cow, what an amazing first act that they did with the kaiju problems. And they did really nice credits at the end to kind of illustrate the hundreds of people that it takes to execute a top level storytelling platform complete with visuals, complete with 3D animatics, complete with videos that were done in 3D that were really well rendered. The finale is really fantastic. The emotion of Wagmi-san really was killer. I think any Hollywood studio would pay through the nose for that. There was like a good 5 seconds of where he's like, looking at his cat, and it was a really beautiful moment. And it's due in fact to these storytelling elements. And so that's sort of the thing, is usually you have the storytelling elements, and then you sort of rely on the execution either within in-house of your main story, or you kind of do what they do, is allow storytelling to coincide with the main story through. Usually it starts out with news coverage, and I think the 10K TF that got very very exciting. There's other plays like in the community of a neighborhood watch, so you can be inventive within these worlds and sort of start, as long as people understand the rules of engagement, start to spin out their own storylines and fill out your world. And so, but it's up to the Web3 to sort of reward that in some degree. And so, and that's what's great is 10KTF I think has, by giving those people platforms. They have a ton of followers now. They turn on their show, and instantly they have hundreds of people listening, watching their show. That has value, as well as I think they gave them some PFPs, and to sort of leverage. I don't know if they were able to keep any, but to sort of leverage and giveaways, etc. But enriching them. How are you gonna make me rich? This is like a core saying from way back in the show. If for all those who've been listening for a while, and it's how are you gonna make me rich? Not just financially, but socially. Culturally, what is it that this project is meant to do and can do? And so let's get into it with this talk about. Sorry, I went on a bit of a tangent because this is such an area that I'm super passionate about, and I like projects that are tackling these things from the storytelling element. And here with Uppercut, they're also going to try and tackle the execution phase as well, which is making videos, having 3D assets to make these videos. With really bad ass like action stars and stunt people in which to play with. Start. Welcome, crypto media friends, to another Overtime special show. Today we're talking with Tino, head of operations at Uppercut / Jump Cut. He's going to have to explain this overall sort of play here, these multi-layer corporations, but it seems Uppercut is very specifically targeted towards action. And I was really curious about that space because just in terms of storytelling and action, I was really, really early on this project. I even hold this moniker of grasshopper because I'm so early on this project. But in terms of its storytelling and its centricity in action, I was very, very curious. And then lo and behold, they made the move to go 3D as well. And so welcome, Tino.
Hey, so great to be here. Really excited. I know we've been trying to plan this for a while.
You've been busy. You've been doing some things.
Yeah, we've been trying to launch a project or a few projects. You know?
A few projects. Oh, so we'll have multiple hangouts together. But this one, is about Uppercut, and it seems that it's part of this thing called Jump Cut. So if you could explain sort of the overall vision for both of these entities.
Yeah, of course. So JumpCut is our company, founded by our founder, Karthik, and our goal is to democratize Hollywood, which is a pretty,
pretty small thing. Yeah,
goal.
pretty.
Yeah, exactly. But the base idea is that, right, when you think about the blockbuster films and TV shows that are created today, most are greenlit because they don't present a huge risk to their the studios that make them, and that really excludes a lot of stories that are told and a lot of actors and writers in the space because we have a very narrow definition about what works in media today. So our goal is to use Web3 technology to build IP from the ground up and basically say, hey, we built this, what might be seen as traditional Hollywood, as a non-traditional story, but because 10,000 people or 50,000 people or 100,000 people came together online to build the IP together, that proves that there might be 1 million, 10 million, 100 million people who will watch it if it gets produced on the big screen or as a premiere streaming television series.
So this is an incubator of sorts for stories. And what's great is because of the democratization sort of vibe of Web3, you can almost elicit that sort of participation and sort of the finding. I guess what led to that desire for that sense of discovery within Web3?
Yeah, I mean, really, it was the technology at the heart of it. So JumpCut was founded originally not as a Web3 company. It was using, trying to incubate stories in a very traditional way, using data to say, hey, Viacom or Netflix, you should produce this, and here's data to back it up. But late last year, as we were, seeing the space really take flight and the technology become more established, we realized we could actually build something that could be something that scales, that anyone can use, versus us having to be, JumpCut, being involved in every step. So our ultimate goal is to, launch these first few projects, but then figure out what the secret sauce is, how to really organize communities and provide tools for communities to grow IP, and then let anyone have at it. Because ultimately, we don't think that creation should be gatekept by anyone.
What is, that sort of speaks to a great broad overall vision, but what is it in Uppercut? What is it that you want it to be?
Well, I'm just one person in a community of 501 Genesis holders, and the goal is for everyone to decide. But my ultimate dream is that 5 years from now, Uppercut is a highly valuable IP franchise with a TV series, a film series, book adaptations, cool comics, and that everyone who's a holder today sees their creative contributions reflected, in these products that roll out. So that's very macro, but in a short-term period, right, over the next 3 months, I really hope that it, shows that, 500 people can come together and collaborate in a fun way to build a robust world. That's really my short-term goal. And I think it's a success if we come out of what we're calling season 0, which is the first 10 weeks of story and curriculum that the team has assembled with our robust kind of first chapter of the Uppercut universe.
And that's, I think, something that came, and correct me if I'm wrong, by way of circumstance, by way of, you're in a bear market, and in terms of I think the initial sort of goal, obviously, is probably more in the thousands, more like 10K, et cetera. And so did that strategy come by way of having to augment that because of the bear market and the suspicion around a lot of projects being just straight up scams, et cetera? It's really hard to prove oneself, I think, through that this process of presenting, and it's, even though you guys, and we'll talk about more about this incredible Rolodex that you have, but the idea of going to 500 and the season zero, please walk us through that sort of thought process as the market informed you.
I mean, it truly was a process, and I'll always remember, that week in May when it really felt like the bottom fell out of the market in one really swift motion. We did have a real pivot moment as a team, where we came together and spent a lot of time thinking about how it affects strategy, how it affects the rollout. And you're exactly right. We initially wanted the collection to be a lot larger, but in that reflection that we had in May, we said, what is really our core goal from this first project, from Uppercut, and from the first season specifically? And we came, to the agreement unanimously that the goal is not to have like some sort of astronomical, financial success on day one. It's to prove and to learn about how best to provide tools to a community to organize creative thought among a wide spectrum of experiences and types of users. So we felt that at that point, when we looked at that goal, the thing that wanted the measure of success was not monetary, it was engagement. And thinking about engagement as a goal, we wanted to really bring down the collection size to make sure that out of all the people that were getting Uppercut Heroes, that were getting these NFTs, each of them was going to bring something to the table with the collection. So said another way, we felt it was more valuable to have 500 hyper engaged users versus 6,000 or 7,000 users.
Flippers and people who are speculating, on sort of your floor price. And so you guys really put kind of not where your money with your mouth is, kind of the reverse, where you guys changed your mint price to be ostensibly it's a free mint, but break it down how it goes for you guys.
Yeah. So what we ended up doing, which is now done because everyone has their NFT in their wallet, which is really exciting.
That's right. It's being airdropped just right now, and will be those are the placeholders, and then you guys will be filling those in with actual art with 3D models within a few days.
Yeah, exactly. I think we're going to do it on Monday. I want to make sure that if there's any like extraneous, tickets or questions that people have on, on Discord, that we make sure we take care of those. I want everyone to have that excitement of our artwork reveal. Or
don't worry. Web3 is really well known for patience. We have so much patience in this space. We will wait.
But to your earlier question, it was truly about engagement, and our decision was basically what we did is, yes, it was a free mint, but we didn't really use that wording. What we wanted to do is it's really pay with sweat equity. And so we asked people to submit a response to kind of an open-ended question, which is, if your life was an action movie, what would the title be? And we really got some incredible creative responses. And that allowed us to do kind of like a first pass and, kind of take away, the bots and the people that were just, that were programmatically trying to stake spots. And then look and say, who really put time and thought and energy into, their responses. And we actually did cull, I would say about 17, 18% of applicants who did not put on the final list, which honestly was a higher percentage, than I thought. But I think it means that, this is what time will tell, that we have a really high quality community of creatives who want to build this world.
So the question was what was the name of an action movie that would be your action movie if you had a movie? And so obviously the number one answer would have been 40-year-old virgin, I imagine, amongst sort of those. It's a big joke within the 3D space that like, we probably have the most virgins of any other space within Web3. But, I think it is a smart move to try and like find, essentially like other projects have tried different ways, like 10K TF. Some people don't know what this means, but 10K TF stands for 10,000 true friends. The entire basis of the project in the first few months was to try and cull away all the flippers and find the friends. And the season one or act one just ended yesterday or day before. Yesterday, yeah, it was such a long night that we sort of found, sort of in resolution that, at the end of the day, that's what this project is about. It's about trying to find your true friends, because the true friends can help overcome FUD, help overcome a lot of these things. And so building community, I think you guys had so many great tools at your disposal. A, you have, what brought me on early was amazing writers. And B, you have one heck of a host. I forget her name, but she's like moderating like all of your spaces.
Elisa, yeah.
Who is she and where did you find her? She is dynamite.
She's amazing. She actually came to us as we were looking for someone who had been in the space and could help kind of connect the dots, and who also did have that, like you said, dynamite kind of public presence. And so one of our other team members, Eric Bromberg, was mutual friends with, or had a mutual friend with her.
It's okay. It's okay. Just dox everybody. Dox everybody. First and last name.
Oh, he's on our website. You can find mine too. I'm fully doxed. But kind of mutual friend, and we had a conversation, and it was kind of kismet at that point. As these things, go.
Now she's fantastic as a host, but I tell you, you guys have had some of the most eye-popping sort of guests within the Web3 space, and the spaces were huge. Like, and how is it that you were able to bring Tiff Haddish, like these, Lamar, just like these really Lamar, just like so many great notable names to the space that I wouldn't first associate. I would be like, oh yeah, I'm bringing Tiff on. We're going to talk NFTs.
Yeah, well, what we did basically is we wanted to create kind of a council, or a kind of what we call our like hall of heroes, but basically, people that are notable in kind of their own niche of the entertainment or media landscape, who are both excited about our overall mission, which is to, elevate, untold stories, and for Uppercut through the lens of action, and who are excited about, breaking into Web3, because our value add was basically taking, them on the ride and learning with us, because a lot of the people we brought on, this is their first foray into Web3. So we basically did a pretty big all call through our networks, including our personal networks. We have one of our strategic partners is WME, which is one of kind of the top 3 talent agencies worldwide.
Those of you who don't know the acronym, William Morris Endeavor, which is this massive agency here in Hollywood that covers sports, it covers entertainment, and represents some of the biggest names in Hollywood.
Yeah. But to be honest, most of it came from our own personal connections, because at the end of the day, like, those are the ones that are strongest. And so those of us on the Jump Cut team and our partners, really kind of come from a Web 2 entertainment background. And so we kind of went to our networks and said, hey, like, we're doing this thing. Are you interested? Or would someone like Lamorne be interested? And we end up having a quick convo. We see that we're value aligned, and they join up, and they join what we call the Hall of Heroes, with the 12 of them that are now on it. They're going to be working with us during season 0 and beyond, as well as coming and helping to, evangelize is a strong word, but help spread the word about Uppercut and the larger Web3 ecosystem, because I think you would agree, and I think most people would in Web3, one of our biggest challenges is bringing new blood into the ecosystem, and so that's one of the other things that we're excited about. But yeah, personal connections is the short, and groveling is the short answer.
Thank you for that, because I think that's something that we all look to in terms of our own projects, of like how to bring notoriety into the space. But it's it's just like, the names that you were bringing into the space. It was interesting. You were doing the work that, I feel like in the space, we almost kind of leave to Universal Studios and the sports, teams to evangelize for us, because they can do it in mass. Like I was at the LA City, the female soccer league. I was at the first game and I was like, I want that.
Yeah.
They were giving out the NFT. So I was like, I went, and I was like, I want the NFT. I got to get a crypto.com wallet. Okay. So, and it's a horrible wallet, but it's just like, I went through the process to get it and overcame those technological hurdles, as well as a lot of people did, in order to take part in that event and in that moment. And Universal Studios is doing a similar thing where you can do treasure hunts in their parks, with NFTs. And so they're doing like really the heavy lifting of it. And so when I saw you guys trying to do it, I was like, wow, I was very impressed. I was like, that you guys were willing to do that type of heavy lifting, because the onboarding of general Web 2 into Web 3 is its own thing. And I think you guys kind of then moved into creating your own community. And so what sort of, I guess, ideas for season 0 do you guys have to build that community? And it sounds like really you need to make stars out of season 0, people who are going to be recognized for their own creative merits within your ecosystem.
Yeah. I mean, I honestly think I'm really excited to see kind of how the season evolves, because I think we're starting at basically an even starting point between 4 big pillars that we've set up in terms of content and what we call quests, which are the work that each domos, which are like the teams for the uninitiated here, will do together. One are creative, so working on your own character. One is creative world building, working on the world together. One is actually kind of the beginning of a story that we've created, that there's live action video that we've recorded that will kind of progress the preamble to the world together. And then the final of those 4 pillars is both the physical and the mental side. So learning some actual martial arts, whether you're interested in actually going to the gym or just understanding the theory behind it, so that when you're working on creating a franchise, it comes from a place of knowledge instead of ignorance. And so I think all 4 of those verticals start evenly, but we're going to see what the community starts to latch onto, both with what the discussion is, and also the hard data, what quests and responses people are gravitating towards. And then I think it becomes like a branching, choose your own adventure at that point in terms of where we're putting the most focus. But
Because starting out well with also bringing personality to each domos by giving them a leader. And so each leader is sort of like a really top stunt person and really knows apparently the form in which you guys are placing them in. And so how did you guys come about sort of that design for having leaders, and how do they service it?
Yeah, so I think the overall idea of gamifying this with 3 different domos or 3 different teams, right, that are in a friendly or hopefully friendly competition with one another, was motivation, because we'd seen some other Gen 1, I'd say, like creative communities working to build stories together, sometimes hitting an impasse, because you're basically opening up a room and there's no there's sometimes not that extra bit of motivation that's needed for people to come back week after week to really contribute. And so we wanted to see if by adding a gamification component in, we could make sure that there's a reason to keep coming back, more than just this open-ended question of let's build a world. But since this is so rooted in a real art form, in martial arts, which in it has 10 distinct core disciplines, and within each of those disciplines has an unlimited amount of sub variations, we wanted to make sure it's coming from a place of knowledge. And so we thought, who better to lead and teach, and also provide some incredible live action choreographed sequences, than real life both martial artists and Hollywood stunt performers.
So how do I
So
get
that's where
into the Alex Rodriguez school of batting? Like, is there going to be like a domos for it's just like how to swing like Alex?
not yet. Right now, we're focused primarily on Travis, Gemma, and Guy, who are the three real life incredible Hollywood stunt performers who will lead each of those verticals. But I will say that A-Rod is pretty excited about the project, and who knows, maybe in season one there will be a baseball domos.
That's amazing. What is his vision for this space? Because obviously, again, you guys were bringing people into these conversations that I had not even heard associated with it, and A-Rod was one of those.
Yeah, well, so he's like a very different connection out of the rest of our Hall of Heroes members. A-Rod Corp, which is his fund, his investment fund, actually is a backer of us as Jump Cut and backed us in our seed round because of his vision for a more equitable future in media overall. So that's where our connection is, and he's really excited. Him and the entire team at A-Rod Corp is very excited about this idea of democratizing Hollywood. And of course,
that our audience is mainly of founders, creators, entrepreneurs. Please walk us through that process. You guys are sitting around. You say, hey, let's do something based around the action genre. And you know that there is an opportunity to fund via NFTs. But what was the decision-making process in going to ostensibly like VC funding or funding first before going into that next NFT round?
Well, I can only talk, from a secondary perspective because that seed round was closed back when the company was only 2 people, and I joined. November of last year after that closed. But when Karthik, made the decision to go and look, at how we were going to fund the seed round, really focused around people that are mission aligned and who share a vision and have resources that they'll commit to that vision. And so A-Rod is one of 3 kind of core strategic investors. The others are a VC fund out of SF called Atomic. And they've really helped us with expertise and knowledge to build the underlying infrastructure that hopefully, which is being used for Uppercut and our other projects, and then hopefully will be something that everyone will be able to use in the future.
Because that's the thing is like, NFT projects now in terms of longevity, you have to look at, the utility, you have to look at, these things. Ostensibly, you kind of have to look at what makes this a business that's going to be around for a while. What is it that's going to make Uppercut stick around?
Yeah, I think ultimately what makes us at Uppercut a long-term value prop, but then also the overall ecosystem is there's so many, first of all, media is, this country, the US's biggest export. It's, we are, cultural leaders, for, the amount of music and TV and film that's put out into the world. And I think that market is uncapped. And so we're figuring out a way to reinvent that market and allow a more global perspective to come in. And I think the second piece is there are tons of creatives right now who are not even close to the Web3 ecosystem. And hopefully what we're doing is going to make it more accessible to those users so that they don't have to go through a crypto.com wallet that's, forced on them to get a free NFT at a Galaxy soccer game.
But that's the thing.
I think
you guys are doing a great job of looking at those barriers and looking at how to eliminate those barriers, whether that's through pricing, as well as I think you guys listened to some degree of my hemming and hawing about if you really wanted to have a 3D model that was going to be usable very quickly within sort of the creator ecosystem, where somebody like myself spins up characters out of the NFTs that we own. Going to a specific file type. Walk us through your decision to go into creating, sometimes it's almost an afterthought, like 3D, like Azurbala, many are just like, oh, they're seeing the waters out there, like, oh, we need to go 3D. What was that discussion like for you guys? Why the decision into 3D, and how does that change your vision for this as a storytelling device?
100%. I mean, I think for us, we wanted the community from day one to be able to start telling their own stories in universe, and it is, I think, from a practical standpoint, incredibly time intensive and capital intensive to go and shoot something live action. It's also like if there's an action component, doing anything, whether it involves like stunt work, even on a small like indie scale, is expensive and time consuming. Versus working with a 3D model, you don't have the same constraints. There's a lot of ability to, you don't have to shoot everything in like a 2-week span. It could be a project that gets picked up and put down again, and ultimately has a lot more flexibility. And so that was really our key takeaway, was that flexibility piece. And we hope that people also do start to play in the live action realm down the line. But to start day one, it seemed a no-brainer to give people that tool to start creating.
Now, I know you guys are in the process of airdropping the placeholders currently. I still have to check my wallet because I know that this is literally happening as we speak. And but might you have any previews for those models with you today?
I do. I have a video which we can see some pieces moving, and then I also have some stills that I will throw in here.
Sure. And so while we're pulling those up, what are the top 3 projects that you're watching in this space, and why?
Oh boy, that's quite the question. I think something I'm incredibly out and for is MPL, Premier League. It is a combination of an incredible game mechanic, incredible artwork, and an incredible team that comes from kind of all sides of the comic and entertainment spectrum. I think the second is still really impressed with what my BFF has been doing, especially in working onboarding new users into the space, and really celebrating women who have been traditionally, I think, shut out of a lot of
I just want to be down with them to get the bracelet. I just want to be down so I can get that sweet bracelet. It's such a great note. It's such a great community. I'm envious of what people like Reese are building in the space, which are real homes that feel very safe in a sense from a lot of the scammy activity, and to really help on board people in a big way.
Yeah. I mean, they're really doing, when we talk about doing like the hardcore work to onboard people, they are really pushing hardcore into it. And then I think the third is just out of a place of curiosity to see what happens to it, is Stoner Cats. They had a great like first season component to it, and just interested to see how it scales over time. I think that's what I'm super interested in.
Yeah, I mean, when you have Mila and Ashton, involved, it was certainly one of those ones that we all really looked at to see, is this going to work to make a pilot? And and they did it, and it was sort of like, oh, okay, great. This could be used to fundraise, and I think that really opened the gates, everyone's eyes to its ability to fundraise. And they're just so technologically savvy and aggressive like that. It was very exciting to have them in this space, and to see it continue on really is, as you said, exciting to see kind of where it goes. Let's take a look at the video here.
So I think what we're really excited about, and you can see in that quick spot, is that we're playing with this incredible kind of low poly idea, going back to kind of the games that we grew up with in the 90s, like GoldenEye, James Bond, and kind of that first time that we saw graphics go and hit 3D, on console games. That's kind of the world we wanted to be abstracted into.
What I love about your guys' style too is when you guys are doing these, you guys are modeling after. I've seen some of the wire work, or not the wire work, but the mocap work that you guys have done with some of your stunt people, and these are based off of moves that they're working out in front of you and sort of using as inspiration for these things.
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's what's so exciting is that when we look at that, that single sequence that we just looked at, which is the first of many, and it actually corresponds to work that we did in the studio with Gemma and Travis and Dee. And our goal is that, one of the paths we can take is to do some sort of, season one blended reality moment where we actually go between animated and real life. And bring the two together. But it's really amazing that, we could be doing work here in Los Angeles and then Has, who is the incredible lead and our artistic partner in London at a studio called Hasimation. I wonder where that name came from. Went and was able to actually extrapolate and pull moves from, on the other side of the globe, which is incredible.
And all Web3 is always like sort of all over the globe at once, but it really has given us the ability to leverage so much talent all over the world, and it's great that we're able to bring this to fruition, this type of project to fruition, and to do the things that you guys are doing of eliminating the barriers to access to the storytelling, to these assets, is really incredible work. And I think, as you said, this is a continuing conversation, and I hope to keep continuing the conversation with you guys, because this is ever evolving, it seems, that A, the space, but B, I see the flexibility in what you guys are doing, and I think it's really powerful. And so I want to check in with you guys as often as I can, and until you tell me to stop bugging you. But I think it's a fantastic project, and I thank you for sharing it with us today.
Yeah, of course. I'm truly excited to see what happens, over the next 10 weeks, kicking off next week, and what the community builds together.
Thank you very much, Tino. We will be in contact soon.
All right. Talk soon.
That sounded like an interview. It's not. We're big fans, and we hope to talk to you soon.
Brilliant.